What it do, YouTube? It's your boy Mike from NYC, and we back with another reaction. Today we are watching Making the Case, Magic Johnson. After this, we only got one more left. We only got LeBron after this one. You feel me? 17 minutes long. I almost forgot about this one because there's no place in my mind that allows me to believe that Magic Johnson can be the GOAT. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can make a case for Bill, Wilt, Jordan, you know, Bird, LeBron, Kareem, but Magic, I just don't really see it. Like, I don't know. I don't really see an angle, you know, but I'm going to go into this open-minded, super open-minded, you feel me? And he going to make the case. He feel like he could have made a better case for Magic Johnson over Kobe Bryant. And I'm going to talk about that more in detail at the end of this, you feel me, based on the points that he makes. So without any further ado, let's get it popping. Making the case, Magic Johnson. Alright.
Basketball is special. The size of the court and the lack of pads or helmets give fans the most intimate experience of a team sport that exists. And because of the different styles that basketball allows for, players develop their own distinct identities.
We gotta watch Hakeem highlights. We have to watch Hakeem.
Flair.
Hakeem was really the first player I ever looked up to. For real. 8th grade, bro. That was my guy. Highlights, Hakeem Olajuwon highlights.
Sport give individual stars a nearly unprecedented amount of control over the flow and outcome of a game. For this reason, players are constantly compared to their peers and to the legends of the past in order to answer the most hotly contested questions.
Hakeem was really one of my favorite players, bro.
To ever do it. For many, the question is redundant.
I fell in love with the post.
Right answer, their answer. Others might have their own personal stance, but
I really fell in love with like post play. When I watched Hakeem and it was such art. It was such beauty, bro. Watching him, the counters, bro. Like the counters, bro. Like the amount that he was thinking, and like, alright, if he do this, I'm gonna do this, and if he do this, then I'm gonna do this, and if he do this and this, and I'm gonna do this and this. But if he do this and I do this, then he do that, then I'm like. It just made me fall in love with it, like the skill gap in it. You know what I'm saying? Like he you really couldn't figure him out. He had every move in the package in that post, man. Hakeem is really one of my favorite players of all time, for real. Like, it's probably Kobe, Bird, and Hakeem. But anyway.
Professional basketball in America is at perhaps the lowest point in its history. No one is going to games, the ratings are garbage, none of the players are very marketable, and the product is so bad that CBS isn't bothering to air playoff games live.
Damn.
Things look bad. Enter Earvin Johnson. Johnson bested Larry Bird's undefeated Indiana State Sycamores in the 1979 NCAA Championship, an event that retains the highest TV rating of a game of basketball ever. When the Lakers used their #1 overall pick to make Johnson the first underclassman ever to be taken as the top draft choice, you have to wonder if they knew exactly.
He looked just like his mom's. I feel like, you feel me? I feel like they look so much alike.
How could they have known that they had just drafted a player that would become an icon for their franchise, for their city, and for a generation of basketball history? They didn't draft Earvin Johnson, the prospect from Michigan State. They drafted Magic. Right off the bat, for whatever it's worth, Magic Johnson has the coolest nickname in NBA history. It fits him to a T and is really the name that everyone knows him by.
Do you think he has the coolest name in NBA history? Cause Magic is tough, but I really like his airness. His airness is tough. Hakeem the Dream. You know what I'm saying? Cause then you have the rhyme scheme going on. The Black Mamba, super tough. What else is really tough nickname? Wilt the Stilt. I'm not really a fan of that. They forced that. You know what I'm saying? They forced Wilt the Stilt. What is a stilt? Meaning of a stilt. Yeah, so it just means something really tall. Either a pair of upright poles with support. So, like, a pole, like, I don't know. They forced Wilt to Stilt, but Hakeem the Dream, Larry Legend is tough. The Black Mamba, his earness. I feel like I'm missing some nicknames. You know what I'm saying? But, yeah, probably Magic. Magic is tough. I ain't gonna lie.
It's not like his last name is superfluous, like with Kobe, LeBron, or Kareem. and it's not like his last name is eternally iconic like Russell, Jordan, or Duncan. It's just Magic. Johnson came into the NBA and immediately injected it with life like he was an epinephrine pen. Magic's winning smile, charismatic interviews, and revolutionary play style introduced the league to a pulse and a personality it hadn't known since Wilt Chamberlain. Before long, he became the frontman of a team that would be known by its own distinct nickname, Showtime, like it was a piece of theater or art in and of itself. He was the lead man of the most popular show in Hollywood. In a city full of celebrities, he was the main attraction. Not only did he have the smile and personality to carry a name like Magic, but he also had the basketball aptitude to pull off a team called Showtime. What did he do with that aptitude? He won 5 championships, a half-decade's worth, and appeared in 9 finals. Only Kareem, Bill Russell, and Sam Jones have appeared in more.
Wow.
He won 3 regular season MVPs in a span of 4 years, won 3 finals MVPs, made 12 All-Star teams, and was selected to 10 All-NBA teams. And keep in mind that all of these accomplishments took place in a 12-year career, 11 if you want to mention his injury-shortened 81 season. Magic only spent 3 years of his playing career watching the finals from home. I spent more years trying to graduate from college than Magic spent not making the finals. His HIV diagnosis came right on the heels of a season in which he finished as the runner-up for league MVP,
Wow.
was selected to first-team All-NBA, and competed in the NBA Finals. It is not hyperbole or exaggeration to say that Magic's career was cut short while he was still 90% as good as he'd ever been. Those 12 years were enough of a basketball pedigree, though, that even now, some 30 years later, he is still universally considered the greatest point guard of all time.
I don't know. We may have to revisit that. We may have to revisit that because Steph Curry, I ain't never seen nothing like Steph Curry in my life. To this, like, it gets me riled up just thinking about how nice he is. Like, it's overwhelming, bro. He's so nasty, bro.
Made both impressive.
We may have to revisit that,
considering how much more he had to give.
Eve, to me, it's
These
basically
graphics
freedom.
are
It's a
beautiful.
giant open universe where you can do.
Still, Magic's career stacks up against
Hey.
anyone else with a claim to basketball's highest throne. And the legend surrounding Magic Johnson is rooted in the undeniable truth that Magic Johnson is the best passer in the history of basketball. With the ball in his hand, he was no longer a basketball player. He became a force of nature. His movements became sublime and fluid. These passes aren't coming from Magic. I refuse to believe that any human could do this kind of stuff so routinely without divine intervention. These passes are coming from the basketball gods, and Magic Johnson became their instrument. To convince you, I shouldn't need to show you anything other than his ability, but the stats bear it out.
Tough.
Magic has the highest assists per game average ever, and also has the most assists in NBA playoff history. Magic's skills extended beyond just passing, though. Too big to be guarded by traditional point guards and too quick to be guarded by slow-footed forwards, he created matchup problems every time he brought the ball across midcourt. His speed with the ball was unrivaled, and accompanied with his remarkable rebounding proficiency, was a key feature in the Lakers' fast break offense. He was adept at finishing with either hand, something he did often thanks to his underrated first step.
He is a wizard with the
Years of
rock.
practice by himself and with Kareem helped Magic develop a high post game that added yet another dimension to his offensive skill set. Magic was also adept at picking his opponent's pockets, leading the league in steals per game twice. This skill set is made even more impressive when you remember that Magic was the same height as Karl Malone. That might be my favorite thing about Magic, that he was a true, authentic point guard who happened to be 6'9". It wasn't like with Tim Duncan, who played power forward but people say was actually a center, or how James Harden is listed at shooting guard even though he plays more like a point guard. Magic was an honest-to-God point guard who could also play every position on the basketball court. As an individual defender, Magic was capable, never a lockdown guy, but he was as versatile and as switchable as they come. And with such solid rebounding numbers, there were no holes in Magic Johnson's offensive game. When I say that Magic immediately
Is that really
began
true?
making an impact on the NBA, I do mean immediately. His rookie year is still one of the most successful campaigns a first-year player has ever had. He took over the job as starting point guard and helped guide the Lakers to 60 wins and a berth in the NBA Finals, where the Lakers faced Julius Erving's Philadelphia 76ers. The series was competitive throughout, with each contest being decided by 10 points or fewer through the first 5 games. In Game 5, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the reigning league MVP and the Lakers' best player, badly sprained his ankle. Kareem was able to return and will his team to a 5-point victory, putting the Lakers ahead in the series 3-2. With only one more win needed to clinch the title, Kareem was ruled unavailable for Game 6 in Philadelphia. Magic was then called upon to start the game at center and try to replace Kareem's 33-point-per-game average in the series. Magic answered that call and delivered one of the most memorable basketball performances by any player ever. 42 points, 15 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals, and a block, all as a 20-year-old rookie playing on the road on basketball's highest stage. For his efforts, Magic was named Finals MVP, the first and only rookie to win the award. In the years that followed, Magic's basketball journey would be inextricably linked to that of Larry Bird. It's nearly impossible to talk about one without mentioning the other. In my Making the Case video for Larry Bird, I brought up arguments that could be used in favor of Bird's superiority. And because this is a video about Magic's claim of supremacy, I figure I ought to do the same for him. You first have to give credit to Magic for being the most decorated player during perhaps the most talent-laden period the NBA has ever seen.
That is a fact.
Including his finals opponents, Magic faced competition like Olajuwon and Sampson's Rockets, Tom Chambers' Suns, Mark Aguirre's Mavs, Isaiah Thomas's Pistons, Moses Malone and Dr. J's 76ers, Michael Jordan's Bulls, and Bird's Celtics. Magic's detractors might try to devalue his team's success by pointing out that he played for a remarkably talented team thanks to a brilliant front office. Because of his team's talents, these detractors say, Magic can't be individually credited for their success. In the interest of making Magic's case, though, I'd first acknowledge that yes, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was the best basketball player in the world for nearly the entire 1970s and had already led a team in Milwaukee to a championship by the time Magic arrived in LA. Yes, James Worthy was one of the most polished and accomplished prospects to come out of college basketball in some time. And that's not to mention other pivotal role players like Michael Cooper, Kurt Rambis, and Byron Scott, who all played outstanding basketball. I acknowledge all of that, but I'd argue that the greatness of the Showtime Lakers does not take anything away from Magic's abilities as a player or as a leader. If anything, it reinforces the fact that Magic is one of the most effective leaders basketball has ever seen. By the start of the 84-85 season, he had organically flourished into the alpha dog of the team and respectfully taken the torch from Kareem without a power struggle. It's one of the only times in NBA history that there is a peaceful transition of power from one player to the next. Pro basketball is like 15th century England in that sense. There are no peaceful transitions of power.
Damn, he's really
The
whipping
fact
that
Magic
rock.
was able to earn the respect and commitment of his teammates, especially one of the most historically dominant players ever in Kareem, is a testament to Magic's greatness.
That's true.
Beside the departure of Norm
That's a good
Nixon,
point.
the Lakers' previous point guard, there were no ugly breakups. Cooper, Rambis, Scott, Worthy, and Kareem all retired at one point or another as Lakers. If you won't believe me, listen to the words of Bill Simmons, former ESPN columnist, current CEO of The Ringer, and noted Boston sports supporter who grew up rooting against Magic. Simmons says, he's the single best leader in the history of the sport. Nobody extracted more from teammates, whether it was an all-star game, a mundane affair in December, or any playoff game.
Wait a minute.
Star game.
He's the single best leader in NBA history of the sport. Nobody extracted more from his teammates, whether it was an All-Star game. I feel like that's a good point. I never really thought about that. I wouldn't say LeBron does that better than Magic Johnson. I wouldn't say anybody does that. I don't think it's even close. That's a good point.
A mundane affair in December, or any playoff game. It's also important to note that Magic was ready to win right from the get-go. Like I said earlier, he won Finals MVP as a rookie and finished as the runner-up for regular season MVP in his final full year. Unlike nearly every other player who's ever laced him up, there was never a year where Magic's productivity dropped below his eye-popping, jaw-dropping standards. 12 years of Magic Johnson means 12 years of top-shelf, undeniable, incomparable greatness. Magic's critics might say that he didn't score enough, that his defense was too suspect to be considered the greatest, or that his play wouldn't translate into the league today. To all of that, I'd argue that one of the best things about basketball is how many different ways there are to win. You can be a 6'3" sharpshooter like Steph Curry and revolutionize the game, a 7'1" behemoth like Shaq who dominates the league, or anything in between. There are so many viable ways to play the game that have all resulted in championships, MVPs, and the like. Magic's play style allowed him to control the game with a vice grip and tailored to his specific brand of basketball. What's a player supposed to do when it comes to how the game might evolve in the future? When people talk about the way Magic played, they sometimes talk about it almost like it's a kind of historical casualty. That bewilders me. What Magic did worked really well. Why should he have done anything different? Magic changed the NBA for the better. He was the first positionless player, someone who broke the mold and opened the basketball-watching public's eyes to the possibilities of letting great players do what they're great at, rather than just fulfilling the traditional roles of their size or position. As the game evolves more and more into a positionless sport, Magic's influence and value only become more and more apparent. His Showtime Lakers also became one of the first teams to make the game of basketball aesthetic. The speed, athleticism, and skill we all enjoy today is due in part to Showtime and Magic Johnson. In my video about Larry Bird, I gave him a lot of credit for saving the NBA, and deservedly so. Larry was a pioneer of basketball and contributed immensely to the explosion of the game's popularity. But for every breath of fresh air that Larry contributed, Magic did the same. You can't talk about one without the other because it was the rivalry between the two that really saved the league. The fact that they competed against each other in such a high-profile game in college, had nearly polar opposite personalities, were of different races, played for the two most historic teams in the country, and met each other multiple times in the finals, all cements theirs as the defining rivalry
good move.
of the NBA.
Good footwork.
Despite the differences in their personalities, though, their games were remarkably similar.
Hit that, Kareem.
Team first, success-oriented mindsets, and proclivities for passing were trademark features of both their styles. Those styles met 3 times in the finals, each in legendary fashion. Magic would have the last laugh, though, with 2 championship series wins against Bird. By the time the 1987 finals, their last series against each other, rolled around, Magic had developed a killer instinct and flair for the dramatic matched only by his rival. In Game 4 of the series, with
I ain't gonna lie, that's a beast shot right there. This right here, when he's doing that go crazy.
In Game 4 of the
I wonder
series,
what he's
with
saying.
the Lakers leading 2-1, Magic all but iced the series with the most legendary shot of his career. Down 1 with seconds left in a raucous Boston Garden, Magic ripped the heart out of every Celtics fan with his baby sky hook.
Magic with a hook shot, scores with 2. And the Celtics trail by 1 with 2 seconds to go.
It was the moment of the 87 finals and the shot of Magic's career. He capped off the most remarkable season of his career by vanquishing his most intense rival for the second time in 3 years. Bill Simmons described how momentous the shot and ensuing championship win was for Magic's legacy. Not even the biggest Celtics fan on the planet could deny it any longer. Magic Johnson was just as exceptional as Larry Bird. This point is echoed by Bird himself in a clip I'll leave you with. After the game, Bird remarked how impressed he was with Magic's performance and ability as a basketball player. It's only an 11-second clip, but there's a moment in it that just strikes me. There's a split second where you can see the disbelief in Larry's eyes as he tries to come to terms with the fact that the game, and likely the series, is over. In that second, you can almost see him ponder all of the work he put in during the season. All the games he played and the shots he took, all in the hopes of getting a chance to beat his old rival. And then he has to reconcile the fact that that old rival got the better of him, plain and simple. Bird wasn't alone in
That's
having
a
to
crazy
reconcile
shot.
being
God
beaten by
damn
Magic
it.
Johnson.
That's
Magic
crazy.
still maintains the highest win percentage for a career in NBA history. It's the same thing countless players and coaches had to come to terms with during Earvin Magic Johnson's 12 magical years with the Los Angeles Lakers. Here's Bird, summing it all up with a look.
Magic's just a great basketball player. He's the best I've ever seen, you know. Unbelievable. I don't know what to say.
Hey there, friend. Thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, maybe go ahead and subscribe because I will be making the case for other players in the future. I've already made the case for Larry Bird and Tim Duncan, so feel free to check those out in the meantime. You can also mosey on over to my website where I write stuff about like what Star Wars character each NBA team would be. Make sure to wash your hands. Okay, love you. Bye.
I was just thinking about it. The fact that he already is making the case for LeBron and LeBron not even retired yet, that's kind of crazy in my opinion. But yeah, I think he did an all right. I give him credit. He did a good job. I've seen him make better cases for other people, but that just may mean that other people have better cases to be made. Like Kareem, I think that's probably the best case. Him, Kareem, I think he made really good cases. I think he made a pretty solid case for Michael Jordan, but it's just like, there's only so much you can already say about Michael Jordan that hasn't already been said. But in terms of what he said about Magic, I think he did a pretty good job. He took a similar lens from what he said about Larry, about how his impact on the NBA and you know, how he was such a winningest player, and maybe he isn't the best individual player. You know, he's probably not individually better than Kobe, and you know, but he won. You know, he was one of the best leaders of all time, one of the best passers of all time. You know, he got the most out of his teammates, more so than anyone ever. You know, he went to 9 finals in 5 years. Very short list of players who could say that. And the highest win percentage of all time. That is just like, that in and of itself, I feel like is a case, you know, that can be made. You know, he was a winningest player. His first, second touching the NBA floor. You know, he was a guy that was gonna be able to win you championships. You know, so all of that being said, like, you can't just dispel that and say, nah, he can't be the GOAT. You can't just dispel that and say, nah. Like, highest win percentage of all time. That's beast. 5 championships. That's beast. 9 finals appearances. Only 3 or 4 other people can say that. You know, Larry Bird, you know, said he's the greatest, or he's the best player he's ever seen, at least at that time. You know, so it's really hard to deny. It's really hard to just keep him out of that conversation. You know, I think that with all of that being said, like, he will always have a case. You know, he will always have a case. Now, in terms of him being the greatest point guard of all time, we may have to revisit that, man. Especially if Curry wins an MVP this year and he wins another title, how many MVPs would that be? 3 MVPs, which will match Magic, and 4 titles. You know, with a unanimous MVP, the first ever, with a 73-9, like, you know, he'll have everything he'll need to really have that conversation. You know, for you to really have that conversation. But yeah, man, it's a good video. He did a good job. I give credit where it's due. I'm trying to think. Is there anything else? I don't think so. Yeah, he did a good job, man. He did a good job. Shout out to him. Definitely like, comment, share, and subscribe if you like these type of videos, and let me know what else you want me to react to, and I will see you when I see you. Peace.